Alright, let's get started. Today we're going through Debtors basics. There is a few areas that will get a little bit more advanced that we may touch on, though we won't go too far down the rabbit hole on any of the more advanced topics. So in Profit Track, to create a debtor, we need to go into the accounts and then into the customers section. So I'll break this down and we'll create one together. So we'll click on add customer number. Now this number is the number of the account. You can either do this sequentially, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or if it's a number that's associated with the person that will own the debtor, that's fine too. So that would be a birth date, for example. So I'm just going to say 5. It'll tell me if it's in use. It's not in this case. Name, so the name of the account, that can either be the business name if it's a business or a person's name if it's a person. I'm going to say YouTube. Type and group. So these both have advanced sections to them, but essentially they're a way to distinguish this account and accounts like it from other accounts in the system. ABN is if it's for a business. Register name is what will come up when the POS operator actually links to the account when they're trying to transact. That can be different from the name of the actual account itself. Number of cards is in regards to how many scannable printouts you get when you click print, which is down the bottom of the screen. The idea behind this is that the one account may have multiple people using it, so you can print out a slip for each of them to be scanned at the point of sale. Allow discounts and allow specials do exactly as they say. They allow discounts and specials to be used in an account transaction. Active determines whether the account can be used at the POS or not. Shareholders are another piece of advanced setup for accounts, which we won't touch on today. Contact details are for the methods to reach the person in question. What I will point out here though is if you want to email your account holders a statement each week, month, or whatever period you end up going with, you'll need to set up an email here. So going into bank details, so much the same as the contact details, this is just an easy reminder of where to make payments if there's payments needed. Data options. Now this is the bit we will probably spend the most time talking about today. So the period in the top left is in regards to how long a period lasts for this account. It allows for either weekly, fortnightly, or monthly. Monthly being one of the most common ones, and will determine when you need to roll your period and when the statement is sent to the customers with all the transactions and the amount of money outstanding, so on and so on. Terms are for things such as account keeping fees, late fees, so on. We haven't got any set up here. That's another area of the system to set that up, so I won't touch on that too much. The credit limit over here is for if you want this account to be able to go into credit to be billed at the end of the period or not. Requires reference on charge is for when the POS brings up the account, it will come up asking for a reference. This may be because the account is for a company and they need a name against each transaction so they know who purchased what on the company account. Contact person is for if it's a business account, there is a primary account contact for the account. Stop credit stops it once you click it. So you click that, send it to the point of sale. You can't use the account anymore at the point of sale. Print detail with statements. Now this is for a breakdown on the statement, and we'll cover the statement a little bit later. But essentially a normal statement will show you a transaction list and it'll give you the total per transaction. So $50 on this date, that was the transaction. A detailed printout, however, will do the same, but it will also put all the items underneath each transaction, so that $50 and what makes up that $50. That's the idea behind the detailed version. Normal price level down here, so we've actually got a couple set up in this system. So the idea behind this is so that if you want account customers, or at least certain account customers, to have specific pricing on products, you can assign them to a price level, and then another part of the system where price levels are created will determine what sort of pricing they'll get. So that could be 5% off just in total, or it could be a cost plus or something like that. Statement delivery option. So in statement delivery, we recommend you go with email to cut down on paper waste, but there is the option either to go print or email and print as well. Payment method has two options, brought forward and pay on invoice. So the brought forward method is you pay as you go, it's an on the spot sort of thing, and pay on invoice is when the invoice is sent, that's when you pay it, which is a later date, usually done around the time when you do your statements. Register notes, much like the register name we mentioned earlier, is if you want any notes to come up when the account is brought up on the point of sale. So this could be something like, don't forget to upsell the member only pricing on the Mars bar, or anything to that effect. It'll come up when you actually use it. Now, You can leave all this completely blank. What I will point out, I'm going to leave this credit limit at 0, but that means before we do anything at the point of sale, a payment needs to be made to this account so there's money in it so I can do a transaction. But I'll demonstrate that at the point of sale in a moment. So next is our loyalty options. So we're not going to go too far into this. Essentially, you can create a loyalty program with your account customers within this area to accrue points and spend them either through a voucher or through automatically paying off the account. Sub-accounts. So sub-accounts are used if you have multiple people using the same account and want them to have their own sub-accounts under the main. You can set a description such as a name. So if I click on add here and then double click. So here's the number, here's the description. And you can also put in the card number. Typically you just do that as the same as the number. You can put in a birth date, it's not relevant. Restriction group, so if you create restriction groups, also another part of the system, perhaps some people have access to buy some things and they don't for others, or maybe it's just a blanket thing where no one on this account's allowed to buy cigarettes or something like that. That's fine, you can set that up in another part of the system. Then you've got held, so held is essentially putting this sub-account out of commission. So you'll still be able to use the account, the other sub-accounts, they'll be fine, but this one specific one for whoever it is isn't going to be used. Request purchase order, it's going to come up asking for a purchase order when the account's transacted. Request odometer reading, so this is typically for your fuel sites, obviously, but it's going to come up with a screen asking for an odometer for the car. And that is your sub-accounts. Alright, and the last one is rebates. So this will link to a whole other area of Profit Track, so we're not going to get too far into it. But essentially this is where you'd set up a rebate group. You can see we don't have any there. Once you've got your rebate groups, you assign your accounts to them, and you can go from there. So I'm going to save this. We've created a YouTube one. I'm going to send that down to the point of sale. There it goes. So we'll do it on the point of sale, just basic transactions, and then we'll come back to Profit Track and I'll go through statements, invoices, payments, adjustments, etc, etc. So on the point of sale, I'll sign in with some test credentials. Now I'm going to bring up the Coca-Cola and our new account, which is number 5. Those are our sub-accounts that we were talking about before. I haven't given them descriptions, and there's our notes that we're talking about as well. So I'm just going to click OK. Now I'm going to try and pay for this as if I was an account customer, which I use charge to account. Now, as we talked about before under the debtor options in the back office, this account has no credit, and because we haven't done a payment yet, there's no money in it. So if I hit this, it's going to say no credit available, which is what you'd expect. So there's 3 ways to fix that: either set a credit value that you're happy to go to, make a payment in the POS, or make a payment in the back office. So if I cancel this, go into my account, bring up the YouTube, go to subtotal and go account payment, and we'll put in, let's just say $100, that's fine. And then we'll do the same here and go cash. So that account now has $100 on it. So if I now go Coca-Cola, bring up that account, there it is, and now I try and charge to the account, it's going to say, is your signature correct? I'm going to say yes it is. There we go, it's charged to the account. So my account now has a balance of $90 in it, which is what I'd expect to see. So that's the difference between the payment and the charge. So back in Profit Track, we're going to collect that shift now that we've done it. So those are the shifts there, the training ones. So it's going through, collecting, printing them all, that's fine. So now that that's done, we have sales in our back office system, which is what we want to see. So I'll close out of this, and now what we have to talk about is rolling period. So rolling period ties in directly with the statements. You need a period ended to be able to look at a statement. So if I go into File, Customer Management, Debtor Account Functions, Roll Period, what we're looking at here is our fortnightly period, monthly, weekly. So what I'll do is I'm going to roll all of these. So you can see days since last roll is 37. You'd be rolling these every X depending on your period. I'd say monthly. So I'm going to run all of these to the last day of March. Oops, sorry. Last day of April is what I meant there. April 30. Cool. So that's all of them rolled. Now I'll demonstrate why we did that. So if we go into statements, you can see here we had our first period, which was from the 1st of the 4th to the 30th of the 4th. So if we go one debtor only, account number 5, you can see we're $90, like I said. So we'll go into the current one. There's our YouTube, that's fine. We'll say next. And here is our statements. So you can see here we had, and this is the entire breakdown. So from the get-go, we tried to do a cash transaction, $0, because it didn't go through, because we had nothing in the account. So we made the payment of $100. From there, we paid $10, or rather charged $10 to the account. So it's got $90 left in it. So nothing really needs to be done there, besides letting them know that, hey, you've got $90 left outstanding. The statement summary, this is just letting you know whether it was emailed or whatever have you, if you're doing mass amounts instead of just one. But what I'm going to show is if we go back into that, into the customers rather, go into ours under the debtor options and then go into the print detail with statements, send that down. I'll demonstrate what I meant when I say that it shows the items in the transaction. So if I close that, go back into our statements, one debtor only, 5. We'll just go current period, that's fine. Go next, that's fine too. There we go. So we still get the other two, which is our account statement there, and our statement summary, which is saying where it was sent and if it was sent. And here is our account statement detail. So you can see it was opened, it was cashed, and it was paid. So moving on to invoices. Now invoices won't work with this setup because you need credit. But if you click on new, you would put in your customer number, YouTube, put in your invoice date, that's fine. Fill out statement note, invoice note if you need it, and then click start. Now, because we have no credit, that's not going to work. And then you would go through and you'd dispatch picking slip, finalize it, yada yada. But what we'll do is we'll move on to payments. If there's more information on invoices needed, let us know and we can hold a more advanced session. So in payments, we'll bring up our account. So there's our $90. So we'll say it was today. We can put in a note if we need to, which could just be something like adjustment, and the amount we're paying. So keep in mind that negative amount is how much money is in the account currently. So they currently have 100 if I make this adjustment, because they're paying an extra 10. So that comes around from the $100 that they paid at the point of sale earlier, the $10 that they removed from buying that Coke or whatever the product was, and then we're doing another payment now in the back office. And then you can choose your tender as well. So we'll hit save there, that's fine. Send that down. Now the reason I send down after every change, by the way, is so that the point of sales know what the current value or the current amount is in the account, so it knows it's now at 100. The reason I do that, of course, is that if it was only $5 remaining, even though I just did a payment for 50, but I didn't send that down, and someone tried to buy something for just $10, it wouldn't work because there's only $5 in the account as far as the point of sale is aware. So make sure whenever you're closing out of an account screen, you always send down. So now that that's done, we'll get our slip, that's fine for the payment. Now adjustments, kind of same logic as payments, but it's specifically for the adjustment side of things. So the adjustment date, the notes, and the amount, so same sort of thing, but its logic works the other way around. You're adjusting to take out of the account if it's positive, and if it's a negative, you're putting money into the account, basically making a payment instead of charging. Now that could be if something was missed from the point of sale, or if something needed to be added, subtracted, maybe something was returned, etc., etc. That's why that's there. And the last one we'll talk about is view. So if we bring this up, F3 by the way to search there, or clicking on search in the top left, bring up your account, 5, YouTube, that's fine. So this is our view of the account. So right now you can see our current totals and you can see a full breakdown. So we opened with $0, which we knew. We tried to do a sale, didn't work because we had no money in the account, that's fine. We did the payment at the account, we got $100 in the account, that's fine. We did a $10 sale, which is exactly right. And then we did a payment in the back office, which is the manual account payment of $10 to bring it back to 100. So it's actually saying that, hey, the balance right now is $100. That's what we owe the customer. Or specifically, it's what you owe the customer. your customers. So that is accounts and debtors as a basic overview. Now there is a lot more to this section. Obviously, there's a ton we could go into that would take up half an hour by itself. If there's more interest in this, specifically around either loyalty or price levels, let us know. Feel free to email us at asktheexpert@independentsolutions.com.au. We do check that email for any updates or any curiosities so that we can come up with another session idea. Otherwise, I'll open this back up for Q&A and we'll go through it.